Yo, B2, Stay Sharp, the podcast. Man, I'm excited to be here, guys. I got some heat for y'all today. First off, I want to say this podcast is not for the theatrics. It is not for the visuals. It is not for the popularity, the glamour. That's not what we're here for. We are here to get sharp. We are here to get in tune with the things that are more important in life, the focuses that really transpire for us to become who we need to become. So with that being said, if you're looking for theatrics, if you're looking for workout tips and glamour and all that good stuff, this is not the place. This place is building a community from scratch, bare bones, for a community of people that truly want to get better. And not only want to get better, but they present value. They present value in those comments, sharing their opinions, their thoughts, sharing some of the facts. And that's what's gonna make us all better. So let's get sharp. Let's hop right into it. Today, we're talking about divinity, principles, non-negotiables, and respect. And I'm gonna start this by saying, whenever I do these pods, I never do these pre-recorded or with notes or anything like that. This is straight up just raw energy, what I feel at the moment, my truth. I am not a perfect person, but I do try to be a better man every single day. And every time I have a perspective I feel that can help somebody, that is a lesson that I feel like I should have known yesterday, or it would have made me a better person to know yesterday, I'm gonna share that. And ironically, even in that statement, you have to kind of go through things to know the lessons to be a better person. So maybe I'm even wrong there, and that just shows I'm not perfect. But let's get into it. Divinity. So a lot of people talk about divinity, but I don't think people talk about what divinity is. They use it in these blank terms, and I'm gonna go ahead and define it in my own definition for the pod, so we know the context in which I talk divinity in. And divinity is really just self-respect. When you really boil it down, your divinity is what makes you special. It's the power that no one can take away from you. It's the power within the mind. You could be physically bound, you could be kept out of certain places, you could be restricted of what knowledge you are given, but the knowledge you have, the intuition you have, no one can ever take from you. That is your divinity. Your spirit, that drive, the thing that's ticking inside that tells you to make impact into your daily life in the world is your divinity. And you have to respect that divinity. That's why I define divinity as self-respect. So I want to bring up divinity today because divinity really falls into principles. And you have to identify your divinity to create your principles as a man. I'm saying as a man, and I'm going to say that probably periodically throughout podcasts, but I want to state I'm only saying that because I'm speaking as a man. I am not a woman. I cannot give a true perspective of a woman. I leave that respect to women. So if a woman in the comments wants to speak on anything that I spoke on from the perspective of a woman, please feel free to do so. And I would love to chop it up with you and learn from you as my equal. But moving on, back to principles. So when you tap into your divinity and you acknowledge it and you respect it, you're able to build principles on top of that. Your principles are the rules that you aspire to live by. Now, the reason I say aspire and not the rules you live by is because you can have a principle, but a principle can change with growth. Your current principles today may not be your principles tomorrow, but the biggest factor is that you always remain a man with principle. Principle is a guideline that keeps your masculine energy in check. It makes sure your masculine energy serves you. If you don't have those principles for that masculine energy to serve you, you're all over the place. You see, the great thing about being a man is that we're powerful, we're strong, and we're dominant. But when that energy is used wrong, you know where we end up. It's in a bad place. So these principles are used to guide these energy, to guide your divinity, to make sure that you are capable of doing great things. Make sure you are a better father, a better son, a better nephew, a better cousin, better business partner, better employee, whatever you might do, whatever aspect, it's gonna better you as that person. And that's what principles do in the guiding process. Now you may say, why are we talking about principles right now? Well, we're gonna dive more into principles to open up the room for the conversation for non-negotiables. So we said divinity is identifying our own self-respect and respecting the energy within that lets us create our standpoints on life. Our standpoints on life are our principles, right? So when we expand our principles, we expand certain rules and regulations we have for our life. And on top of that, we have interactions with other human beings. So that is why it becomes important to have non-negotiables. Now, here's the kicker about non-negotiables. A lot of people lose their self-respect in this step of developing their non-negotiables if they get there. Believe it or not, there's a lot of folks out here running around with no non-negotiables. I certainly have some. When you have non-negotiables, the biggest factor you can have as a man is to know you are never wrong with your non-negotiables. You just aren't right. She might be saying, what the hell do you mean by that, right? I'm gonna explain. So if you have a certain way you like for people to interact with you, you have a certain way you like for people to come around you, address you at a certain time, a title you like people to address you as, a certain way you like people to do certain things when they are involved with you, these are your non-negotiables. And if it is that way or the highway, that is the true definition of a non-negotiable. So when you have those non-negotiables, you're not wrong. This is best for your life. These align your principles, which is built off your divinity, which is self-respect. We established that, right? Here's the biggest key. Why you're not always right is because when you're always right with your non-negotiables, you don't have room to grow. So you're not necessarily wrong. You let people know your non-negotiables. You let people know what they are getting into. But when the time comes that someone has enough respect for you and they show you their divinity and they explain their principles, that is the only way as a man you take the time to actually assess your non-negotiable. And you say, what's the trade-off for me opening my non-negotiable? And am I a better man by learning and listening to a equal's principles? Does this equal respect themselves? Do they identify their divinity? If they do, that is the time you're not always right. And that's not to say that you should change your non-negotiable, but it's to say it's the only time you should be open-minded about the possibility of doing so. So with that going on, that comes into one, you having respect for the person you're having a conversation with. But an even bigger topic is them having respect for you. What do I mean by this? If you have a non-negotiable, and if these people do meet these requirements, that their principles are set in line with yours, and they respect themselves, and you can see the divinity within the way they move, talk, speak, and walk, right? Only then is it even possible they can actually show you true respect, because they respect themselves. They know what respect is. The best way someone can show you respect in any aspect, any party, I don't care what the relationship is through communication. If that person is willing to communicate with you and iron out certain details, they respect you. If they respect you, you should respect them enough to be open about your non-negotiables. That is the only time. But it's rules and it's levels to this game. So if they don't have respect for themselves, divinity, that allows them to build the principles in their life where they only have certain things they live by, that forms non-negotiables, which are laws and ethics and certain interactions they will only accept that they know are good for them and are of quality, then they cannot show you respect. That's the only time you renege on the fact of changing your non-negotiables. I hope too much of that didn't go over you guys' head today. I felt that was a good message. I felt that it was generic enough for you to use it in every application, but as I said, I was addressing this as a man for men, so I think y'all got the message. Y'all talk about this below in the comments. You give me perspective on what you think about this and how you utilize this in your own life. If you do, or if you don't, how you will. Also, if you want to chop it up with me in the DMs about this on a personal note, feel free to DM me on Instagram, NextLevelJ. If you found any value from this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. Share. I can't ask you enough to share this. Content like this only gets known from people who got value from it, saying that I respect the value I got and I'm going to share it. And I want to share my divinity with other people that found their own. Let's get sharp together, guys. Peace.